Welcome to China in Focus. I'm Tiffany Meyer. Our top story, a confrontation between a pianist and a group of Chinese people going viral on YouTube. A closer look at the dispute.
Show me the Chinese flag.
Why you're touching her? Stop touching her! Don't touch her!
Sparks fly as Donald Trump and Nikki Haley offer up their plans to handle China if elected, one urging war readiness while the other calling to prevent World War III. More on the heated debate. The latest in a string of accidents across China. At least 39 are dead after construction materials caught fire in a southern Chinese basement. And Beijing looking to bolster its reeling economy by cutting bank reserves. China's central bank is set to free up more cash to help boost lending. A heated confrontation racking up over 6 million views. A British pianist was live streaming a performance when a group of Chinese people asked him to stop. The conversation got so heated that police officers stepped in. What sparked the heated debate? Here's a closer look.
A clash in London is going viral on YouTube. British pianist Brendan Kavanagh was playing at a train station when a Chinese TV crew came up to him.
Did you film us, all of us, in your cameras?
I don't know. Are we allowed?
No.
We're not allowed.
Yeah. So
We're not allowed.
You're not allowed because we're for Chinese TV.
Oh, okay.
This is non-disclosable.
It's legal to film in public places in the UK. Kavanagh argued there were other people filming in the station as well.
Just make sure that we are very, very secure in the reason that we don't want our voice or picture being filmed. And then, yeah, that's just the relationship between you and me, you and us, basically.
What relationship?
Just now, we are very, so I'm going to repeat that. Yeah. All of us, we cannot share our images online.
Right.
Yeah, there's no reason. That's our choice.
The Chinese man later threatened legal action.
We're not in communist China now, you know.
Oh, I'm sorry, this is racist now.
No, we're not in communist China. We're in a free country.
Kavanagh noted they're free to walk away if they didn't want to be filmed, adding they were in Great Britain, not China. That's when things got heated.
I'm also British, but I don't want to use my image.
You've got a Chinese flag there.
It doesn't matter.
Show me the Chinese flag.
Why you're touching her? Stop touching her! Don't touch her, please. Do not touch her. Please.
Police officers later stepped in, saying it's legal to film in public areas. The group of Chinese people left soon after. One of them later posted a video online saying they had refused to leave because they were waiting to use the public piano to film something, and that the clip they planned to film was for a company back in China that required them to keep the content private.
We couldn't disclose what we were going to film on that day. It shouldn't be published in advance.
The viral video sparked mixed reactions in China. Some criticized the British pianist, accusing him of being a racist, while others condemned the Chinese crew, saying they made unreasonable demands.
A two-person presidential race, the former commander-in-chief versus South Carolina's former governor, and both have messages for New Hampshire voters. One pitches war readiness against China, while the other defends maintaining regular ties with Beijing. Last week, at a campaign speech in New Hampshire, GOP presidential candidate Nikki Haley said the U.S. must prepare for a potential war with China. She highlighted the size of the Chinese Navy, their advances in AI and hypersonic missiles, and concerns about neurostrike weapons. She described those weapons as engineered to change the brain activity of military commanders and segments of the population. Haley told voters China has been preparing for war with the U.S. for years. She insisted that China is an enemy, not a competitor. Also in New Hampshire, GOP frontrunner Donald Trump gave his own take, referencing the conflicts in Ukraine and Gaza. He reassured voters of his ability to prevent World War III while advocating for maintaining normal relationships with China. Polls show Trump with a wide lead over Haley.
And I don't care if she stays in. Let her do whatever she wants. It doesn't matter. I can just say that there's never been a movement like this. Make America great again. In the history of our country,
Their next face-off is set for February 24th in South Carolina, where Haley served as governor for 6 years. The final Republican nominee will face President Joe Biden in the November 5th general election. While domestic concerns dominating voters' minds, foreign policy also plays a large role, especially amid the Ukraine conflict, Israel-Hamas war, and China's aggression in the Indo-Pacific. Are Chinese companies operating in the U.S. evading tariffs? That's the concern among some American lawmakers after a Chinese-owned auto parts maker in Ohio was recently searched by the Department of Homeland Security, while its parent company has been accused of trade fraud. NTD's Jason Blair reports.
WHIO and other local news networks reported that the DHS searched Harco Manufacturing Group in Moraine, Ohio last week. The company makes vehicle brake parts. Harco is owned by Sunsong Holdings, who is a subsidiary of Qingdao Sunsong. Qingdao Sunsong was recently accused of evading U.S. tariffs by moving part of their production to Thailand. Representatives Mike Gallagher and Darren LaHood wrote a letter to the DHS about this, saying it's a, quote, case of blatant trade fraud that is having a catastrophic impact on American manufacturers. The Department of Homeland Security has not confirmed yet whether the raid is connected to the trade fraud accusations. A DHS representative told Axios, quote, Homeland Security investigations executed a federal search warrant in the Moraine, Ohio area January 18th. This is an ongoing investigation. No further information is available at this time. Jason Blair, NTD News.
Next, at least 39 people are dead in southern China after a fire broke out in Jiangxi province Wednesday. According to a report from Chinese state media, the flames sparked from piles of renovation materials stored in the basement of a building. The fire reached several of the floors above the basement, including an internet cafe, a training center, and a grocery store. Videos show thick black smoke billowing out and victims who escaped the disaster scene. Zooming out just weeks ahead of the Lunar New Year, tragedies are mounting across China. As of Tuesday, the death toll from a landslide in Yunnan province had reached nearly 50. The same day, a fire at a hotel in Shandong province killed 4. 8 perished in factory fire in Jiangsu on Saturday. And last Friday, a fire in a primary school dorm in Henan province killed 13 students. 2 weeks ago, a mining accident killed 16 in the same province. Amid plunging stock markets, China's central bank is set to boost lending by freeing up more cash from bank reserves. It's the biggest bank ratio cut in 3 years. Officials Wednesday said the move would free up over $130 billion to re-enter the market.
We will cut the reserve requirement ratio for all banks by 50 basis points on February the 5th and will free up 1 trillion yuan to the market.
China's economy has been on a downward spiral. 2 benchmark indexes, the CSI and the Hang Seng, plunged to historic lows Monday. Distress in the housing market, local government debt risks, and weakening global demand have hampered pandemic recovery. The reduction is beyond most analysts' expectations. Some of them say more stimulus will be needed this year as authorities try to fight off deflationary risks. In December, top Chinese leaders pledged more steps to support recovery at a key meeting. So far, policy actions have only slightly improved the situation, raising pressure on authorities to roll out more stimulus measures. More German firms have left China, and some are weighing their options. That's according to a survey by the German Chamber of Commerce in China. The organization polled over 500 German firms in China, finding more than twice as many firms are now selling off their China businesses or considering it than 4 years ago. The survey highlights the challenges these firms are facing, like increased competition from local Chinese companies, unequal market access, economic headwinds, and geopolitical risks. About half of the companies surveyed have taken steps to de-risk from China, including building alternative supply chains. China is Germany's biggest trading partner. The European Union is taking steps to safeguard its technology from global rivals. It's set to announce measures on Wednesday aimed at protecting its economic security. Plans include tighter rules on the type of foreign investment that can come in and tighter export controls of sensitive technology, such as semiconductors. The EU did not mention other countries by name, but the move comes at a time when the bloc is de-risking itself from China, one of its biggest trading partners. Critics warn that the new measures could be hard to enforce, given EU member states have their own foreign policy. A new global race to the moon. Japan's lunar lander has just touched down. What's in store for the heated competition with India, China, and the U.S.? And as Beijing moves to target deep space for hegemony, what's at stake? We hear insights from Rick Fisher, Senior Fellow at the International Assessment and Strategy Center. Rick Fisher, thank you so much for joining us. Great to have you back on the show.
Tiffany, thank you for having me back.
Now, Japan's moon sniper landing has been making headlines, especially around its complications that it has encountered. Now, how significant is this in terms of the new space race that we're seeing?
This bodes very well for Japan's participation in the American-led Artemis program to explore the moon. Japan was an early signatory to the Artemis Accords. Japan has promised to contribute to the Gateway small lunar space station that will help facilitate manned landings on the moon. And Japan has also pledged to develop, with the Toyota Corporation, a pressurized moon rover, meaning that the astronauts don't have to wear heavy spacesuits to ride a moon rover. They can enter the rover like they're entering an automobile and cruise around on the moon. All of this is very exciting and a very positive alliance-level contribution by Japan.
On that note, we are seeing forays from Japan as well as India and China when it comes to the moon. Now, you actually have a piece out noting that NASA's delay puts the U.S. China in a dead heat for the moon. Where does the U.S. stand now in terms of this space race?
The latest delays announced by NASA earlier this month indicate that they are targeting 2026 for the first manned moon landing as part of the Artemis program, or the U.S.-led return to the moon. China has suggested that it could be sending people to the moon as early as 2029. China, in my opinion, wants to control the moon, wants to control access to the moon in order to enforce its eventual political, military, and economic hegemony on the Earth. Ultimately, the Chinese Communist Party does not want the United States or other democracies accessing resources or energy from space or the moon in order to fight back against a Chinese hegemony on the Earth.
Expanding on that, you actually have another piece out titled 2023, the year China targeted deep space to secure hegemony. Now, expand on that for us. What is at stake here?
Well, in August of 2023, there was a prominent conference held in Beijing. And one of the participants in the conference took to social media and the Chinese state media to explain that for the previous 3 years, he had been working on a program detailing how China would, from the moon, begin to occupy Mars, and then from Mars begin to occupy moons or even planets farther out into the solar system, Jupiter, Saturn, and beyond. This is very much a challenge to the democracies. And this is just a reality of the ongoing competition on Earth between the democracies and the Chinese Communist Party. It is now extended into the heavens and quite possibly to the length of our solar system.
Quite concerning indeed. Now, getting a bit closer to home, we actually had a viewer write in with a question. This is about the balloons that China has been sending over Taiwan, as well as, of course, the Chinese spy balloon that traversed the U.S. He wrote, Is it possible to shoot down spy balloons with high-powered pulse lasers? I've heard that the U.S. has made a 1 MW laser. That much power ought to have some effect on those spy balloons. Expand on that for us. Would that work?
1 megawatt laser would be a very powerful weapon, able to take down missiles in flight, as well as a very thin-skinned balloon. Now, the PLA could also devise countermeasures by coating the balloon in reflective silver or gold mylar. The balloon may be able to deflect a large amount of the laser's energy. How much? I'm not sure, but coatings with that reflect a laser have long been suggested as a countermeasure, and the Chinese could opt to use such a countermeasure should Taiwan obtain powerful laser weapons.
Quite fascinating. Well, Rick Fisher, thank you so much for your time.
Thank you, Tiffany.
That's all for today's China in Focus on YouTube. We're now sharing a shortened version of our program here after being demonetized for more than 2 years. If you'd like to support us, consider donating. Find us at donorbox.org/China-in-focus or subscribe to our partner platform, Epic TV, where you can watch our full episodes. Here's what to look out for in our second half. A giant anti-CCP slogan on display in a public space inside China. We share the untold story of a man who fled life under the communist regime and still managed to get his message out back home. And the German president just wrapped up a trip to Vietnam. And Beijing is taking issue with a newly inked agreement between them. More on that after the break here on China in Focus. Thanks for watching China in Focus. I'm Tiffany Meyer. See you tomorrow.